There is one really key thing that makes one a winner compared to the other, and that is the price. And hey guys, this is JP's Lego Reviews. Today, I'm going to compare two Lego Star Wars sets. I'm going to compare the Lego Star Wars ATTE versus the Razorcrest. Now, this is a pretty strange comparison if you think about it, except they're similarly sized sets selling for similar prices and they offer a similar amount of value. So let's compare which one is better by breaking it down. Let's first talk about displayability for a minute, because both of these sets look displayable, but which one is more displayable? Well, I'm actually going to give it a tie. The reason why I'm giving it a tie is pretty simple. Both of these sets look awesome on display. They look great on display. They both fill the space pretty equally, so not one really looks better than the other, but they both look good on display. There's nothing really too strange or too off about either of them. They look pretty accurate as well. There's nothing really strange about the way that they look. And overall, they are both very displayable Lego sets. But now, let's move on to how realistic each set is and which one is more realistic. So, which Lego set here is more realistic? Well, when it comes to how realistic each set is, there's not really too much that separates them again. But I won't give it a tie, because one is slightly more realistic, and that is the ATTE. The reason why it's slightly more realistic is because of this. The ATTE uses a few less stickers to recreate the vital sort of look of it than the Razorcrest. With most of the engine detail and quite a lot of the body detail even, the Razorcrest is quite, well, how do I say this? The Razorcrest isn't as realistic simply because a lot of it is sticker detail, not brick-built detail. Meanwhile, with the ATTE, more of the realistic details of the ATTE are brick-built. But I will say it's pretty close to equal, especially considering that the ATTE cannon definitely does look a bit strange, so I'll give you that. But they're very, very close. But now, let's move on to the building experience of these two sets. Which Lego set here gives you a better building experience? Well, it really depends, but overall, it's a tie. The reason why is because both of these builds are pretty interesting, they're engaging, and nothing is ever too similar. There's always something a bit different going on with both of these sets, which is why it's a tie. Now, one is a ship build, meanwhile the other is a walker. So obviously there's going to be differences in the way that they're built because they're different types of Star Wars vehicles. But overall, they have a pretty similar building experience. They have maybe 60-ish different piece difference, so it basically has the same amount of pieces. And overall, they're both quite a similar building experience, but they're both good building experiences, especially for the price. But talking about price, let's move on to the value proposition of these two sets. Now, which Lego set has a better value for money? This is probably one of the most difficult winners that I can choose from, but there is a winner. And let's go through each set. The Razorcrest and the ATTE, I felt I carried them both, and they're pretty similarly heavy. They're pretty weighty, both of them, and both of them have a similar mass. Also, even though one has less minifigures than the other, at most maybe that's a $10 or $20 difference. But here's an important fact. The Razorcrest in Australia is 200 Australian dollars, meanwhile the ATTE is 230. I'm pretty sure the USA has a slight difference, I think of 10 or 20 US dollars as well, simply because of the fact that the minifigures here cost a bit more to produce. But the minifigures actually don't really make it a better value for money. And because of that, I give the best value to the Razorcrest simply because you're mostly paying for the build anyway, and both builds are pretty equal, but with the Razorcrest, you're just paying a little bit less compared to the ATTE, especially because you're paying a lot for the minifigures, where I will say the minifigures are fantastic in the ATTE, but I don't know if they're worth $30 more fantastic. And because of that price gap, the Razorcrest is the winner when it comes to value. But now, let's compare each set's minifigure selection. When it comes to the minifigure selection, it's probably the easiest category out of all of them. It goes to the ATTE. The reason why is, firstly, you're getting 3 more minifigures. Secondly, 5 out of the 8 minifigures, all the clone troopers, are fantastic. And also, the droids are a good addition too. Thirdly, the Mandalorian Razorcrest minifigures are quite bland, also, which doesn't help, because we have a Scout Trooper, and we also have it just feels a bit bland compared to the ATTE. And simply, with the ATTE, you get 3 more minifigures. And there's much more of a battle that you can create as well, which is why the ATTE has a far better minifigure selection. But now, let's move on to the playability of these two sets. When it comes to the playability of these two LEGO sets right here, which set is more playable? Well, again, that is another very difficult category because both of these sets have been designed for playability in mind. With the ATTE, you can carry it from place to place. The stud shooters are easily accessible. You can easily play around with the minifigures, and you also even have a sort of miniature homing spider droid as well, which you can add for the bad guys to have going against the good guys. So you have that there. Meanwhile, with the Razorcrest, it's incredibly easy to move around. The spring-loaded shooters are easy to access, and overall, it's a very swooshable set. But which set is more playable? For this one category, and I will say this, and there's one thing that actually makes a winner here, and it's the ATTE's legs. The legs, if you're just to move them on their own, they're very difficult to move on their own. And because you can't easily move the ATTE legs on its own, the winner goes to the Razorcrest simply because with actually using the Razorcrest in the way that it's intended, which is to fly it around, even in your mind, it's far easier to swoosh it around in the air than the ATTE is to move its legs. And the actual method of moving the ATTE legs, it's not easy to do, which is why the Razorcrest is slightly more playable. But now, let's move on to my final thoughts. Which set wins the comparison? Well, it's difficult to choose because both are very good, but there is one really key thing that makes one a winner compared to the other, and that is the price. And because of the price, the Razorcrest is the winner of the comparison simply because it's slightly cheaper. Both of these sets, in my opinion, offer an equally good building experience. They're both just as realistic as each other. They both are playable. They're very, very equal. But the reason why the Razorcrest is the winner is simply because it's 30 to maybe 10, depending on what your currency is, dollars cheaper. And because of that, the Razorcrest wins the comparison simply because of the fact that it's slightly cheaper. That's it. These two sets, if you're looking at them at an equal price, both, in my opinion, offer an equal amount of value. Now, the minifigure selection in the ATTE is better, but also the build does feel a little bit more light as well. So you have that, but overall, these are very, very, very close sort of sets to compare. Even though they're different, they're from different, timelines within Star Wars, but at the same time, as LEGO sets by themselves, which that's what I'm comparing them as, they're both quite equal. And considering the fact that these two large play sets are probably going to retire in 2024, it really is a matter of choice of which one to get. And honestly, even though the Razorcrest is the winner of the comparison, it can easily go one way or the other. based off personal preference, because these two Lego sets are so close when it comes to just how good they are and the value that they provide. For example, if you're slightly more into prequels, then the ATT is for you. If you're more into the Mandalorian, the Razorcrest is for you. If you like a ship, then the Razorcrest is for you. If you want a walker, then the ATT is for you. It just really depends on personal preference, because yeah, the Razorcrest is a better value for money, but these two sets are so close, you can actually basically almost choose them based off personal preference. But if you don't have a personal preference, the Razorcrest is a better set. Let me know what your thoughts are down below on these two sets. Do you own them both? And if so, which one do you prefer? Again, let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, please smash the like button. If you want to see more content just like this, please subscribe. I hope you guys have a tremendous day and keep building.